Ever wondered how your computer communicates with the outside world? Well, that's where the concepts of input and output, often abbreviated as I/O, come into play. In the realm of computer programming, these two elements are the linchpins of communication between a computer and its external environment. Let's break it down. Input refers to the data or signals that are sent to the computer. This could be anything from a simple mouse click to a complex string of text you type on your keyboard, to even data received from a network connection. On the flip side, we have output. This is the data or signals that the computer sends out into the world. It could be the text you see on your screen, a document sent to your printer, or information transmitted over a network. Input and output together form the basis of how computers interact with the world. Now let's dive deeper into these two concepts. So, what exactly does it mean when we talk about input? Well, in the realm of computing, input is the data or signals that are sent to the computer from various sources. Imagine it as the information you feed into your computer to perform a certain task. It's like giving instructions to your computer in a language it can understand. For instance, when you type on your keyboard, each key press is an input. The computer processes this input and carries out a task based on it. Maybe you're writing a letter, playing a game, or browsing the internet. Each keystroke tells the computer what to do next. Now let's think about a mouse. When you move it around or click on something, that's also an input. The computer uses this input to move the cursor on your screen or select an item. But input isn't just limited to your keyboard and mouse. Ever opened a document or an image file? That's your computer taking input from a file. The computer reads the data in the file and displays it for you. And then there's the network connection. When you're browsing the internet, your computer is continuously receiving input from your network. It could be a web page, a video, or an email. Your computer processes this data and presents it to you in a way that you can understand. In essence, input is the first step in the process of communication between you and your computer. It's how you tell your computer what you want it to do. Without input, your computer wouldn't know how to carry out tasks. It would be like trying to have a conversation without saying a word. So, whether you're typing, clicking, opening a file, or browsing the web, remember that you're providing input that your computer uses to perform tasks. It's a fundamental concept in computing that makes our interaction with computers possible. That's a basic understanding of input. Next, we'll explore output. Having understood input, what then is output? Great question. Think of output as the response from your computer after it processes the input. It's the computer's way of communicating the results back to you or to another system. Remember when we mentioned that input could come from various sources? Well, output can be directed to various destinations too. It can be displayed on a screen, printed on a printer, or even sent over a network. Let's break that down a bit. When you see text or images on your computer screen, that's output. The computer takes the processed input, converts it into a format that the monitor can understand, and voila, you see the results on your screen. This is one of the most common forms of output we interact with daily, from reading emails to watching videos. Now, what about printing a document? That's output too. Once you hit print, the computer processes the document and sends the output to the printer. The printer interprets this output and prints your document onto paper. Output can also be sent over a network. For instance, when you send an email, the computer processes your message as input, converts it into a format that can be transmitted over the network, and sends it as output to the recipient's computer. The beautiful thing about output is that it's not just limited to these examples. Your computer can generate output in the form of sound through speakers, data files saved on your hard drive, and much more. You see, output is the computer's way of providing you with feedback. It's the end product of all the processing done by the computer based on the input it received. And just like input, output is an essential part of making our programs interactive and functional. Now that we know what output is, let's see how input and output work together. Output. How does input relate to output in a computer system? This is a question that often confounds even the most tech-savvy among us, so let's unravel this mystery. In essence, the connection between input and output is the fundamental process of computing. It is the heartbeat of every computer system, the rhythm that keeps the digital world dancing. Consider a computer as a brilliant chef. The ingredients are the input, the raw data fed into the system. The chef processes these ingredients, following a recipe, the program or software. Finally, the chef presents a delicious dish, the output. But what's a chef without ingredients or a dish to serve? That's right, A computer without input or output is just a fancy box collecting dust. Input and output are two sides of the same coin, bound together by the magic of processing. When you type a search query into your browser, that's input. Your computer then processes this input using its search engine program, and voila! It serves up a list of relevant websites. That's your output. But what happens in the middle, in the heart of the computer, is where the real magic happens. The processor, or CPU, is like a maestro orchestrating the flow of data. It takes the input, performs calculations, makes decisions, and generates the output. And all this happens at lightning speed, so fast that the results seem instantaneous. It's not just about typing on keyboards or clicking on mice either. Every time you swipe your credit card, that's input. The bank's computers process that input, checking your account, and then output the approval or denial. When you ask your digital assistant for the weather, your voice is the input, and the spoken weather report is the output. In a nutshell, input is the question, processing is the journey, and output is the answer. They are interlinked, each one depending on the others. Without input, there's nothing to process. Without processing, the input can't be transformed. And without output, there's no way to know the results of the processing. That's how input and output work together in a computer system. Why are input and output important in computing, you ask? Well, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've covered today. We've delved into the concept of input, the data or signals sent to a computer. This could be anything from a stroke of a keyboard, a click of a mouse, to data from a file or even information from a network connection. In parallel, we've also explored output, the data or signals emanating from a computer. It could be in the form of text displayed on a screen, a document printed to a printer, or data sent over a network. The symbiotic relationship between input and output forms the backbone of computing. It's like a two-way conversation between the user and the computer. Without this dialogue, the computer would be nothing more than a glorified paperweight. Understanding these concepts is not just theoretical mumbo-jumbo. It's a practical tool that helps us create interactive and functional programs. It empowers us to use computers more effectively and efficiently. So, as we conclude our journey today, let's appreciate the sheer complexity and elegance of these seemingly simple processes. Input and output are not just about sending and receiving data, they're about the intricate dance of communication that powers the digital world. So the next time you use your computer, remember the crucial roles of input and output in making it work.